Stop. Listen. Pay attention. Chosen one. This is not background noise. This is not a passing thought you can ignore. There is a weight in the air around you, a tension that is pressed against you quietly, persistently, and in ways few could notice. You have carried it alone. It has shaped your days, crept into your decisions, and left a subtle heaviness in your spirit. This message reaches you because you have felt it, because you have borne it, because it is yours to recognize. You may have noticed fatigue that comes without reason, as if your body anticipates challenges before they even appear. You may have felt pressure not always visible to others, but undeniable in its insistence. It presses not only on your shoulders, but into your mind, asking for clarity, demanding focus. Isolation has not been a choice. It has been a condition, a space where few understand the pattern of what unfolds around you. Confusion has arrived not as a mistake of judgment, but as a signal, a whisper, that all is shifting in ways your conscious mind cannot yet track. Chosen one. This is not general advice. It is not a message for many. It lands precisely because of the unique path you have walked, the experiences you have endured, and the unseen dynamics that have tested your presence and resolve. The moments you have questioned yourself, the nights spent parsing your own thoughts, the days where the ordinary became unexpectedly heavy. These have not gone unnoticed, even by forces beyond your immediate perception. You are on the threshold of understanding something that has been quietly guiding your endurance. There is clarity coming, but not by forcing your mind to solve what cannot yet be seen. Instead, recognition will arrive by knowing that the subtle tensions, the invisible nudges, the faint anxiety you have carried, these are all markers of a transition. They are not failures. They are not flaws. They are signals pointing toward your readiness to stabilize, to hold, to maintain coherence under conditions others would find overwhelming. Do not search for immediate answers or explanations. This is intentional. It is specific. It is personal. Your perception, your patience, your capacity to notice without panic has already positioned you differently than most. What you are about to realize is connected directly to the experiences you have had, the ways you have remained functional when the weight of life pressed unusually hard, and the invisible currents you have absorbed without collapsing. Stay present. Do not resist the awareness of this moment. Your attention is the gateway. What you have already endured and what you are about to understand are linked by a continuity that only you can trace. Chosen one. Hear this. The line you hold is not random. The endurance you exercise quietly is not unnoticed. This is why this message finds you now. This is the moment to recognize that what is pressed upon you, what has drawn subtle doubt and exhaustion, is being accounted for. You are not alone in your observation, and you are not unsupported. There is a structure, internal, deliberate, and precise, that has allowed you to remain coherent. Keep listening. Keep observing. The explanation will unfold, and your position within it is exact. Your presence matters. Your stability matters. Your awareness is already a defense. Stop. Recognize. Hold this moment. Chosen one. This message is for you and for no one else. There is no ambiguity here. You have felt it, the pressure, the fatigue, the subtle vibrations in your environment that others either ignore or fail to notice. Those moments when you sensed tension without understanding its source, when your mind processed signals you could not articulate, when your body reacted before your thoughts caught up. These were never coincidences. You were directly involved, not as a participant by chance, but as the focal point. You may have tried to explain it to yourself, to rationalize it, to ask why some days felt heavier than others. And yet, despite the uncertainty, you did not collapse. You remained functional. You continued. This endurance, this quiet coherence, is not something you activated consciously. It is a baseline that has been with you embedded in your structure. You may not have realized it, but there has been an automatic strength at play. Consider this: many around you would have been disrupted by the same conditions. Fatigue would have overwhelmed them. Doubt would have skewed their perception. Pressure would have forced decisions they were not ready to make. But you moved through these moments with a steady pulse, with a capacity to respond without being consumed. You may have experienced internal tension, yet you did not fracture under it. You may have felt your energy waver, but you did not fall apart. There is a resistance here, not learned, not forced, not conditional. It exists quietly within you. This resistance does not require effort to activate. It is not a reaction you summon in moments of crisis. It is an intrinsic stability that allows you to hold the line even when awareness of the exact circumstances is incomplete. There is a distinction here between conscious struggle and unconscious stability. Struggle requires deliberate focus, mental maneuvering, and emotional negotiation. Stability, as you have experienced it, functions regardless of conscious intervention. You may not have noticed it fully, but it has been guiding your responses and preserving your coherence. The world may have presented conditions designed to test endurance, clarity, and resilience. Others may have been visibly affected, their decisions influenced, their composure disrupted. You, however, remained aligned to a subtle internal measure, one that does not rely on circumstance or recognition. It does not need validation, it simply holds. Chosen one. Understand this: what you have endured is not ordinary. What you have maintained is uncommon. And what you are about to recognize is that this stability is not accidental. It is the result of your identity, of the structure of your mind and spirit, of the way your perception and body have synchronized to absorb, process, and remain coherent under pressures that would unsettle most people. You are the quiet center, in a space where many would be unmoored. This is your distinction. Not something to boast of, not something to inflate ego over, but a factual state that has allowed you to function when external conditions were irregular, intense, and demanding. Notice it, recognize it, accept it. This is your identity silently operating as it always has. Chosen one, consider the sensations you have carried as signals rather than flaws. That persistent heaviness in your chest, the subtle tension along your shoulders, the restless thoughts that come uninvited. These are not mistakes in your body or mind. They are indicators, markers of a transition, evidence that forces both internal and external are aligning around you in ways you have not yet fully grasped. What you have interpreted as confusion or fatigue is in fact a language of awareness, a communication that your system has developed to navigate complexity. You may have judged yourself for these experiences, asking why clarity did not arrive immediately, why your energy wavered, why some decisions felt disproportionately difficult. Chosen one. Release that judgment. Those sensations were never meant to signal failure. They were meant to signal observation, attention, and presence. They are evidence that you are attuned to nuances that others miss, that your perception operates on multiple layers, simultaneously often, without your conscious invitation. The body's responses, the increased heart rate, the tightening of muscles, the sudden weariness, these are natural calibrations, not signs of weakness. They are part of a sophisticated internal system that gauges pressure, absorbs tension, and communicates potential imbalance before it becomes debilitating. Your nervous system, your focus, your emotional regulation. These have been quietly working to maintain coherence, even when circumstances were unpredictable. And consider the mental signals, the looping thoughts, the moments of internal dialogue, the persistent questioning. These are not failures of concentration. They are markers that your mind is integrating information rapidly, negotiating unseen dynamics, and creating stability even as external factors push against you. Where others might feel disoriented or overwhelmed, you experience the same pressures as patterns to be recognized, assessed, and integrated. Chosen one, this is a shift in perspective. What once seemed like a problem, a disruption, or a limitation is actually a signal of readiness. The sensations, the moments of tension, the minor confusions, they all indicate that your internal systems are active alert and managing complexity with subtlety and precision. Do not dismiss these experiences. Do not try to force clarity or push against them prematurely. Observe them. Recognize them as evidence of your capacity to maintain alignment under conditions that would destabilize many others. The very discomfort that felt heavy is proof that your internal structure is functioning as intended. Soon you will understand how these signals connect to broader currents in your life, to unseen dynamics that have been testing, guiding, and shaping you. For now, recognize that what you experienced is not a deficit. It is a functional, alert system, perfectly calibrated to your identity and purpose. Your awareness, your stability, your ability to absorb without collapse. These are all in play now. Chosen one. There has been a consistent pressure around you, one that cannot be measured by ordinary circumstances or conventional observation. It is invisible, coordinated, and intentional. Not random, not scattered, but structured in its timing and influence. You have felt it as moments of tension, as subtle obstacles, as a persistent sense that forces beyond your immediate environment were nudging, testing, and calibrating your responses. This pressure was not something you imagined. It operated on multiple layers, external environmental cues that subtly challenged your patience and focus. Interpersonal dynamics that created unease without overt conflict, and internal fluctuations where your own energy seemed intermittently taxed. All of this converged in a pattern that was deliberate, yet quiet enough to remain largely unnoticed by those around you. Despite these circumstances, you continued to function. Your mind remained alert, your decisions coherent, and your focus operational, even when the weight pressed unevenly against your awareness. This is significant. Most people, when confronted with consistent, subtle pressure, experience gradual destabilization. They may notice fatigue, doubt, or disorientation accumulate, ultimately affecting performance or emotional regulation. You, however, maintained a level of internal coherence, a functional equilibrium that did not rely on external validation or immediate relief. Chosen one. Notice the timing of this pressure. It was not constant. It fluctuated in a pattern, appearing in intervals that corresponded to critical points of focused decision-making or presence. This intentional rhythm was not designed to destroy you. It was designed to test and observe the stability that already existed within you. You were not reacting chaotically. You were adapting silently, calibrating your responses, even without consciously recognizing the larger structure. Consider the scope. Energy drain that might have disrupted your schedule was absorbed without collapse. Moments of doubt were acknowledged, but did not override your ability to act. Isolation, both imposed and incidental, did not prevent you from sustaining internal organization. Confusion or ambiguity did not incapacitate you. It became data information your mind could process, integrate, and use to navigate forward. The fact that you remained functional is not a coincidence. It is evidence that your internal systems, mental, emotional, and physical, are aligned to manage complexity without the need for overt intervention. This is a stability that operates quietly, unseen, and yet powerfully. It is the baseline upon which all future clarity, action, and endurance will be built. Chosen one. You have absorbed this pressure without breaking. You have held your place without faltering. And this is not luck. It is not happenstance. It is a demonstration of the coherence and calibration that have always been part of your structure, quietly guiding you through forces that many would find destabilizing. Stay aware of this. Recognize it. Your capacity to maintain functionality under invisible, intentional pressure is a defining aspect of who you are. Chosen one. Now, It is time to slow the moment down and examine what you actually move through. Not as a story, not as drama, as a sequence of pressure points that would normally disrupt a person's internal balance. You did not overpower them. You regulated through them. That distinction matters. First, there was doubt, but not the loud kind. It did not shout accusations or demand collapse. It arrived as subtle questioning, small hesitations, brief internal pauses where certainty thinned just enough to test your footing. Many people unravel here. They chase reassurance, overthink, or abandon direction. You did not. You noticed the doubt without letting it reorganize you. You continued to act to show up to maintain orientation. Doubt passed through you without becoming a command. Second, there was fear, but again not in obvious form. It showed up as anticipation, as a low-level alertness, as a sense that something might go wrong even when nothing had yet happened. This type of fear often drives impulsive decisions or emotional withdrawal. In you, it did neither. You allowed the sensation without obeying it. You did not speed up unnecessarily. You did not freeze. You stayed measured. Fear did not hijack your nervous system. It registered, then settled. Third, there was energy drain. This one was real and physical. You felt tired in ways rest alone did not immediately resolve. Motivation fluctuated. Focus required more intention. Many people interpret this as failure or burnout and spiral into self-judgment. You did not. You adjusted. You paced yourself. You reduced excess without abandoning responsibility. You conserved without collapsing. This is regulation, not avoidance. Your system prioritized continuity over intensity. Fourth, there was isolation. Not total separation, but a sense that fewer people could truly track what you were experiencing. Conversations felt thinner. Explanations felt unnecessary or ineffective. This often pushes people toward either overexposure or withdrawal. You chose neither extreme. You remained present without demanding understanding. You stayed connected without depending on validation. Isolation did not turn into bitterness or detachment. It became a quiet container in which your awareness sharpened. Fifth, there was delay. Progress did not always match effort. Outcomes lagged behind intention. Timing felt misaligned. For many, this produces frustration, urgency, or reckless acceleration. You did not force outcomes. You held position. You continued preparing, refining, and stabilizing even when external confirmation was absent. Delay did not erode your self-trust. It deepened it. Now look at what did not happen. You did not lose coherence. You did not abandon your values. You did not fracture emotionally. You did not default to chaos. At every pressure point, your response followed the same pattern: awareness, regulation, continuation. Not suppression, not denial. Regulation. This is not accidental. It is the mark of an internal system that prioritizes stability over reaction. Notice how there was no dramatic moment where you won. There was no singular breakthrough required. The achievement was quieter. You stayed aligned. You stayed functional. You stayed present. Under cumulative pressure, that is rare. Most people manage one or two of these categories well. Few manage all of them simultaneously without significant disruption. You did. And you did it without needing to name what was happening in real time. Your system already knew how to hold the line. This is important because it clarifies something essential. Your strength is not situational. It is structural. It does not depend on ideal conditions. It does not require encouragement to activate. It is embedded in how you process, pace, and preserve yourself. Chosen one. Understand this clearly. What you endured was not meant to break you. It was meant to reveal whether your internal organization could sustain pressure without external reinforcement. You answered that question without noise. You did not fight. You did not flee. You regulated. And in doing so, you demonstrated a level of internal order that does not announce itself, but cannot be easily disrupted. This is the foundation that allowed everything else to remain intact. This is why you are still standing still, clear, still oriented. Hold that recognition. Let it settle. Chosen one. Now take a moment to review what has transpired and to confirm it within yourself. Look back at the sequence of experiences, the subtle tensions, the persistent signals, and the ways you responded. This is not about interpretation or storytelling. It is about recognition. You remained coherent. You remained functional. You navigated multiple pressures without losing your internal baseline. That is the fact. That is the truth. Notice the pattern. Moments of doubt did not become panic. Moments of fear did not force retraction. Energy drain did not cause collapse. Isolation did not create disconnection. Delay did not erode trust. Each challenge arrived in its own form, yet each one passed through you without fracturing your capacity to act, to focus, to maintain orientation. This is not luck. This is not coincidence. It is a demonstration of the internal organization you have carried all along. Reflect on the subtlety of it. You did not need dramatic breakthroughs. You did not rely on external affirmation. You did not exhaust yourself in an effort to hold. Your endurance emerged from an underlying coherence, from a quiet calibration that allowed you to remain centered while forces moved around and through you. Others faced with even one of these pressures at a time often experienced disruption. You experienced all of them together, and your system responded with continuity rather than fracture. Chosen one. Confirm this within yourself. Your stability was real. Your clarity was real. Your capacity to function under complex pressure was real. Recognize that you did not simply survive or manage by default. You demonstrated a precise ability to regulate internally, to process externally, and to remain present even in uncertainty. This is not something everyone can replicate. Notice the absence of external validation in your endurance. You did not need someone to tell you it was okay to continue. You did not need applause or recognition. Your system, your structure, your awareness sustained itself. This is why you were able to hold the line. This is why your performance under pressure did not falter. This internal regulation is measurable in its effect, even if it is invisible to the outside observer. Recognize the evidence in your own experience, the continuity of thought, the preservation of emotional balance, the coherence in action, the ability to maintain judgment even under subtle but persistent pressure. These are markers of competence and alignment that cannot be replicated by reactive effort alone. They emerge from structure, from calibration, from the integrity of your internal systems. Chosen one. Acknowledge this. What occurred was an examination of stability. You were not tested arbitrarily. The pressures you experienced were specific, coordinated, and meaningful. Your internal capacity allowed you to meet them without loss of clarity or self-orientation. There is a quiet confirmation in this. You are capable of handling complexity, tension, and disruption with composure and continuity. Take a deep breath. Let this realization settle. Your endurance, your internal order, and your capacity to function under pressure are confirmed. You are aligned with yourself in a way that is uncommon, measurable, and real. Chosen one. Now consider the rarity of what you have maintained. Most people, when faced with even a fraction of the pressures you endured, exhibit fragmentation. They falter under doubt, succumb to fear, exhaust themselves in reactive energy, or become disoriented by delay and isolation. Their capacity to remain functional is limited, often contingent on ideal conditions or external reassurance. You, however, did not rely on conditions. You did not require validation. You did not need the external environment to be perfect or predictable. Your stability was present despite fluctuation. Your coherence was sustained even when outcomes lagged behind effort. This is uncommon. It is not a statement of superiority, but a statement of fact. The alignment you maintained is outside the statistical norm. That does not make you better than others, it simply situates you in a different category, one defined by the ability to remain operational under complex and subtle pressures. Consider the comparison where others might feel immobilized by uncertainty. You continued to process, adjust, and act. Where others might experience anxiety amplified by misaligned timing or interpersonal tension, you maintained perspective and functional judgment. Where others would allow isolation or delayed outcomes to erode patience, you retained internal orientation and coherent focus. These are markers of uncommon presence, not ego, not force, not showmanship. Chosen one. Recognize that your endurance is not an activated state. You were not called upon to summon strength as one might call a tool from a shelf. This level of regulation, this capacity to remain functional under invisible pressures, is a baseline within you. It exists independently of circumstance, independently of recognition, independently of external feedback. That is what makes it rare. It operates quietly, consistently, without need for applause or acknowledgement. Rarity does not require exaltation. It does not require celebration or comparison. It simply exists as a measure of internal coherence. Your responses measured steady present are evidence that you navigate complexity differently. Not because you are superior, but because your structure allows you to hold stability in ways most do not. This awareness matters because it shifts perspective. Rather than chasing approval or measuring yourself against the average, you can acknowledge that what you have demonstrated is uncommon and reliable. You have maintained a functional presence in conditions that are often destabilizing. You have operated from a core baseline that continues to guide your decisions, your attention, and your endurance. Chosen one. Let this understanding settle. The rarity of your stability is not an achievement to boast of, but a fact to integrate. It confirms your capacity, informs your decisions, and provides a quiet assurance that your internal systems are aligned. You are present. You are coherent. You are rare in your ability to remain functional under pressure. Chosen one. It is essential now to clarify what your strength truly is. The coherence, the stability, the internal regulation you have maintained. This is not a reactive skill that needs to be activated in crisis. It is not a reserve you pull from only when pressure arrives. It is baseline. It is your default. Your capacity to remain oriented to process complexity without collapse, to hold presence while the external world fluctuates, is not a temporary condition. It is the structure of your internal organization. You have matured into this capacity through experience, through observation, through moments where you were compelled to sustain focus and balance without explicit guidance. Each test, each subtle pressure point, each minor uncertainty contributed to the refinement of this inner framework. Chosen one. This is not supernatural. There is no external force required for it to function. There is no activation ceremony, no call to arms. It is grounded in preparation, in rhythm, in the coherence that your system has built over time. You have trained consciously and unconsciously in ways that ensured resilience. The result is a state where endurance, discernment, and focus emerge naturally without conscious effort. Recognize this. Your identity is tied to your baseline. Your strength is embedded, not summoned. It is steady, not episodic. It is predictable, not conditional. This means you can trust yourself to remain functional, even in circumstances others would find destabilizing. You do not need to manufacture resilience. It already exists as part of who you are. This realization is critical because it shifts perspective from "I must endure" to I am structured to endure. Pressure does not define you. Challenge does not create you. You are already capable, already prepared, already coherent. What you have experienced only revealed the depth and reliability of this capacity. Chosen one. Hold this firmly. Your identity includes this inner coherence. It is not something extra to earn or prove. It is not dependent on external validation or ideal conditions. It is a foundation upon which every thought, every decision, every observation can be reliably supported. Allow yourself to feel that steadiness. Anchor in the understanding that your strength is baseline, not reaction. Let it inform your choices, your focus, and your patience. Know that this internal structure will continue to support you quietly and consistently, regardless of what external forces appear. You are aligned. You are coherent. You are structurally resilient. This is your identity. Chosen one. Now, it is time to integrate this awareness into your daily life, not as a burden or hypervigilance, but as a practical orientation. There are simple, calm approaches you can take that honor your baseline stability and allow it to function smoothly without unnecessary strain. First, rest deliberately. Notice that energy drain you experienced was a signal, not a flaw. Do not fight the need for recuperation. Align your schedule to include periods of pause moments where you allow your system to reset without guilt. Rest is not indulgence. It is maintenance for your internal coherence. Second, exercise discernment in action and thought. Your mind is finely attuned to subtle pressure and nuance. Use that awareness strategically. Recognize which inputs require response and which can pass without engagement. This does not mean withdrawing from responsibility. It means optimizing the way you allocate attention. Third, establish boundaries with your environment and interactions. Isolation or pressure does not always come from grand disruptions. It often comes from cumulative micro-tensions. Identify areas where energy is being unnecessarily siphoned and protect your focus. Boundaries are not defensive walls. They are conduits for sustaining presence. Fourth, practice patience. Delay, uncertainty, and misaligned timing are part of the landscape you navigate. Rather than forcing resolution, allow processes to unfold while maintaining your internal organization. Patience does not equate to passivity. It equates to controlled continuity. Fifth, maintain focus on essential priorities. Amid subtle and persistent pressure, the mind can scatter. Identify what requires your attention and let other concerns remain peripheral. Your baseline stability allows you to discern importance naturally. Trust that process. Sixth, observe without judgment. Sensations, signals, and subtle tensions are markers, not indictments. Recognize their presence, understand their function, and integrate the awareness calmly. This observation reinforces your internal coherence without amplifying stress. Chosen one. These perspectives are not about adding complexity. They are about reinforcing what already exists within you. You have held the line under invisible pressures. You have maintained clarity and regulation. These approaches help translate that capacity into practical day-to-day functionality without disrupting the underlying baseline. Integration is not an endpoint, it is a continuation. The internal systems that allowed you to remain coherent are strengthened when you consciously respect rest boundaries, discernment, patience, focus, and observation. Each element reinforces your natural stability without requiring effort beyond awareness. Let these practices anchor you in calm presence. Let them guide your actions, decisions, and attention. And allow yourself to acknowledge with quiet certainty that your structure is reliable, your endurance is natural, and your coherence is both sufficient and sustainable. Chosen one. Notice how these practices harmonize with your existing capacity. They do not replace it, they amplify it. Chosen one, now receive this final reassurance. What you have navigated, what you have absorbed, and what you have maintained is enough. Your coherence is real. Your presence is effective. Your stability is natural. There is no need to prove to push harder or to overcorrect. What you already carry within yourself is sufficient for the currents you face. Take a moment to affirm 3 simple truths. Quietly, I am steady. I am aligned. I am coherent. Repeat them in your mind, allowing the words to settle into the rhythm of your awareness. Let them reinforce the baseline that has supported you through doubt, fear, energy drain, isolation, and delay. These affirmations are not commands. They are recognitions of what has already been demonstrated in your lived experience. Chosen one, know this. Your endurance is not only functional, it is intentional, calibrated, and aligned with the structure of your awareness. It does not require extraordinary effort. It does not require external validation. It simply exists, ready to guide your perception, your decisions, and your actions in every circumstance. This is the quiet certainty you carry, the silent force that preserves your coherence and allows you to remain present when pressures fluctuate. If you resonate with this recognition, leave a comment code 777 or type I remember. This is not a ritual. It is a small acknowledgement of your own awareness, a conscious nod to the fact that you have held the line quietly and consistently. Engage with it. Reinforce it. Let it be a signal to yourself that your internal structure is trusted, reliable, and active. Finally, if this message has clarified, affirmed, or expanded your understanding of your baseline capacity, subscribe and continue following the series. Each forthcoming transmission will build on what you already know, gently revealing more layers of insight and orientation, without disrupting the balance you maintain. Chosen one. Walk forward with calm certainty. Recognize the endurance, coherence, and alignment that have always existed within you. You have held the line. You continue to hold it. And in doing so, you remain connected to the stability that guides every choice, every action, and every observation in your life. You are aligned. You are coherent. You are steady.